So determined to complete this challenge. Like, we are reading 7 books in 7 days. That is it. There's no compromises. None of them are okay in this book. Like, literally all of them are just hanging on with an emotional thread. I've been getting annoyed at life because it's interfering with me finishing this book. If you want a book where the love interest is an absolute villain.
Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Tori if you're new, and this week I'm trying to finish a book a day. I don't think I've ever tried to do this before. Let's talk about the couple books that are priorities, and I'll tell you the 2 books that I'm currently in the middle of that we're going to try to finish today. We are starting off very, very strong. So I'm currently in the middle of Shadow and Storms by Helen Scher. This is the last book in the Legends of Thesmar series. If you know me, you know that I absolutely love this series with my whole entire heart and soul. So freaking amazing. Having the best time, but also my heart hurts. No summary for this because it's a finale book in a series. I also have another finale book. This one I'm listening to on audio called The Immortal Heights by Sherry Thomas. This is the 3rd and final book in the Elemental trilogy. It's a YA fantasy series. It has amazing elemental magic. I know I've spoken about the series a couple times in the past, and I've also read The Burning Sky and The Perilous Sea in reading vlogs. If I can find them quickly, I will leave them linked in the description box below if you would like to watch those. Updates for these 2 will be general thoughts, no spoilers, but these 2 series are incredible if you're looking for really good fantasy romance series to pick up. This one leans a little bit more just YA fantasy, but it does have a subplot of romance carrying through it as well. The other priorities for this week, and I'm not going to set a super specific TBR to follow because I do want to pick books up on a whim. I feel like when you're doing a reading challenge, you need that little bit of flexibility. However, books that I have my eye on, Nectar of the Wicked by Ella Fields. So she's on the priority list. And then I also have Reckless, which I just picked up today from Barnes & Noble. Reckless by Lauren Roberts. This is a sequel book to Powerless. Powerless was a little bit mid for me. I'm very excited to see where we're going in this one. I also think this will be super fast paced and super easy to read. Another YA fantasy romance as well. These are the 4 books we're going to start with, and we'll see how we go from here. I'm about to sit down and dive back into Shadows and Storms. I feel like I want to prioritize finishing this one first before I jump to anything else because I'm very stressed for our characters right now. I wanted to give a little bit of context for this book because although I'm not going to go into any spoilers for the series or anything like that, I just wanted to give some backstory in case you're entirely unfamiliar with the Legends of Thesmar series. So this is a magic-riddled, war-torn world where everything was like normal at one point. However, this shadow magic and these shadow creatures have slowly begun to take over this world, and they're impacting our characters. There are shadow wraiths, there are Rhaegar reapers, there are these really creepy shadow creatures that wield that shadow power. They have big bat-like wings, and slowly but surely this world has lost their light. Not only have kingdoms fallen, the sun is blocked out by this darkness, which continues to become more and more ominous, and it makes it very difficult for non-magical people, non-shadow people to live. They can't farm, they have to live underground, they're in constant danger of these shadow creatures threatening them, threatening to kill them or turn them into a shadow creature. And so we have our main character in book 1, her name is Thea, and she wants to become one of these warriors who are the Legends of Thesmar. And it's been a very long time, but it's uncommon for a woman to become a war sword of Thesmar. But to become that warrior, you go through this extensive training process. You not only have to be able to wield blades like an absolute badass champion, but you have to be able to fight these creatures. And so there's like this rite that happens. If you can pass all of your tests, if you can pass that, you become this next level warrior, which is a war sword. Not only are we following Thea's training journey, her relationship between her and her mentor that becomes spicy, and it's very hate to love and so argumentative, and their banter is just absolutely everything. But we're also constantly seeing this conflict of how these shadow wraiths continue to get worse and worse. So it's extremely high stakes. However, I feel the first half of this book, we had that, I mean, craziness at the very, very beginning that just sucks you right into the story. And then it does hit a bit of a lull because we have to strategize. We have to talk about, you know, how we're going to approach this massive battle, this massive war that's been building up. It has been a little bit slow from like we'll call it like a third of the way through, like 30% up to the halfway point, because it's just been a lot of strategic war talk. However, as a character-driven reader, you get a lot of downtime with your characters, and this has such a sweet found family. Not only am I so gagged over the romance, but Kip and Cal, who are Thea's friends from like the very beginning of the story, I love them so much. I wish that they were almost more present in this story so far, because they're there and they're on the periphery, but their relationship with Thea is just so funny. They add such a nice lightheartedness throughout the story at times when you really, really need it, because this book does get very serious, and obviously like there's a war, so it's a pretty serious and dark book. But it's felt like, at least so far, there's been so much setup in this book, and it's also felt like we were getting so much setup in the last book that I'm just really ready to get to the action to see where it goes. Those are the current thoughts and updates. I wanted to give that because the next time I check in, I would like to just have finished this and not do like little check-ins all the way throughout. I want to just read her, and that way I can give you a good conclusion of my thoughts after concluding the series as a whole. I feel like I need to do a little bit of an update before I finish. I have 60 pages left, so we're right there. We'll start with a positive. I wanted to read a quote that I highlighted because I have been annotating. The monologues in this book are definitely giving finale book. Like, they are really trying to hit with an emotional impact, and this is a monologue that comes from our main character, Thea, and it's not spoilery, but it's to her sister Ren, who she's trying to rally. Like, Ren is an alchemist, and she's trying to tell her, like, you're more than just an alchemist, you're more than just a woman, because in this society, like I mentioned, women aren't warriors. Men in this book act extremely misogynistic, and so they're like fighting against the misogyny. And so her little speech was really, really sweet. For the longest time, women have been erased, little by little, or in the case of the Furies themselves, in one fell swoop. We have lived in the shadow of the rights and laws of men, but when the world is reborn, it will be of our own making. You're fighting for that world, and you have the same right to armor as the rest of us. You are surrounded by women who want to see you empowered, and that is stronger than any fucking army in these realms. When they tell you what you can't do, remember, you are the storm. You split the skies and flood the plains. You make the ground tremble beneath their boots. No one can fucking stop you. There's so many little pep talks, like, all the way through. There's also a lot of like battle speeches, like, before we're going into this battle, we have to like hype everybody up. And so that's been emotionally impactful. It's just happened so many times throughout this and also through the other books. I feel as though it's tying off all of the little loose ends that we picked up throughout the last books. I think personally, I've been struggling with finale books this year. I don't know if it's a me problem right now or if it's the finale books that I've been picking up, but this happened to me with the Shadows and Crowns series as well by S.M. Gaither, where by the time we got to the last book, it feels like the story could have been completed sooner. Nothing's happening. There's no turmoil in terms of the relationships with the characters. There's only the remaining conflict with the plot, and it just falls a little flat for me. It's not a 5-star because it's just not a 5-star, and that's sad because a lot of these books in the series were 5-star for me. So I will check in a little bit. Okay, we have officially finished her. I think I'm gonna stick with my rating of 4 stars, and because I was speaking about my kind of disappointments with this book in my last update, I do want to tell you the things that I really enjoyed about this. I love Helen Shurer's characters. I don't think that's a surprise, but the found family in this is just so good. She has incredible imagery with her scenes. All of her battle scenes are just epic. Like, you can picture everything in your mind, and even let's not talk about the battle scenes for a second. In the little moments where, you know, like Wilder would walk into their tent where they were talking about war strategy, and he would talk about seeing Thea, and she had sunlight backlit against her, and he could see strands from her braids flowing freely in the wind, and it just paints this picture of awe, and he was so clearly mesmerized by like seeing her in that scene. It doesn't just happen with Thea, like she does this with a lot of the different characters in the scenes, especially the battle scene. She'll describe one of the warrior characters like doing something absolutely epic and crazy, and you can just, it truly comes off as legendary. Like, she paints that picture so well, and that was lovely. The other thing that I was screaming about in the middle of this book, during that time where I said it's kind of a slower period and it like dragged a little bit for me. However, during that slower period of time in this book, the way that Helen Shurer writes non-dialogue communication, some of it's body language, but some of it is just like mannerisms and how it depicts the closeness of the group. So in this series, we have a character who is nonverbal, and he and Thea are friends. They're very close. They continue to get closer throughout the books. There's this moment where in this book, he comes up to her and he's like really proud of her, and so he just like pulls on her braid and like gives her a smile, and that's something that was just so sweet, and it really stands out in my mind because it was such a sweet moment between them without having to verbally communicate like, I'm so proud of you and you've done all this stuff and blah blah blah, and like rehashing all of like the big plot moments between those two characters and whatever. And they have a very big brother little sister relationship, and I was like, that is so perfect, so on point. So things like that just made this, it made it really fun to read. I do think that the plot was a bit transparent and I was disappointed by that, but that has been the story of my life with finale books recently. So because of that, I'm going to take a little break from Immortal Heights because I'm just scared that I'm going to fall into that same, I don't know, like brain pattern of being like, finale books don't work for me, and then it's gonna impact this one as well. So instead, I think we're going to start Reckless by Lauren Roberts tonight and then hopefully finish tomorrow. We'll see how much we get through. Like I mentioned, this is the second book to Powerless. In the first book, to paint the picture of this series, if you're unfamiliar, although Powerless is like one of the most popular romantasy books lately since it came out. Powerless, we follow Peyton and Kai. Peyton was living on the street, I'll say down on her luck, but not really. She was kind of in hiding because in this society, a plague ravaged their society. Those who survived the plague begot magical powers. Peyton, however, is ungifted. She's unmagical. And because the society blames like non-magical people for the plague, I don't know how it makes sense, but apparently it does. If they ever found out that she didn't have powers, they would kill her. So she tries to live in the shadows. She tries to just make her way living on the streets, but she gets noticed by Kai, who is one of the crowned princes. She ends up saving him in this crazy like brawl on the street, and then she gets pulled into this deadly competition where magical, like basically teenagers and young adults, I don't understand, but like magical kids get pulled into this competition, this deadly competition, to show off their skill and their magic and stuff like that. So she gets pitted against people with actual magical abilities, and she has to like fumble her way through and make sure, number one, no one finds out that she's not magical, and number two, she has to try to survive and win this competition. The romance in the first one was so fun between Kai and Peyton. I'm very excited to see where this next one picks up because we had a massive cliffy on that first one, so we will see how she goes. I will update once I have started her. Hi besties, I'm cleaning off my dresser because it's become a dumping ground for clothes, as it does literally every single week. So we're cleaning her off, I'm folding these clothes. And while I'm doing this, I figured let's do a little update on Reckless because I made it to
almost halfway, having the best time. I love the setting change. I love that we've like ran away and we've ventured into a different area of the map that we haven't experienced yet. It's also a desert setting, which I love desert setting books. It also like continues with the trope of knife to the throat. I think I'm gonna use it for the knife to the throat trope, like prompt for romantasy-a-thon, because it's just so present in this book. It has knife to the throat. It has not technically a one bed trope, but they do go to an inn and there's only one room left, but our boy Kai sleeps on the floor, unfortunately. But it has like the one room trope, I guess you could call it. We have a one horse trope. I love that this is becoming more and more frequent and more popular in books, because the scream I scrumped, the squeal I squealed, I was not expecting that. So one horse trope, I'm having the best time. I love the tension. I love that they both feel betrayed by one another. They're both so mad at each other. It definitely counts as hate to love as well. I was considering doing the hate to love prompt for romantasy-a-thon as well. It's exactly what I was hoping it would be. Like I said, the first book, I loved the characters, but I didn't love the plot. It just felt like it was borrowing too much stuff from other books for me personally, that I really didn't enjoy it. I felt like it was quite unoriginal. The way that the characters inner monologue and they're talking about one another, like thinking about each other, to die for. If you love a dual POV fantasy romance, this is a good one. So I'm gonna continue reading it. Our goal is to finish her today, so I think we're on track to do so. It reads so quickly. So I'm gonna continue cleaning my little dresser-rooney dooney, and I will check it in a little bit. I found a playlist for Reckless today on Spotify, because as I do, I have to look up playlists for books. And I saw Traitor by Olivia Rodrigo on there, and I was like, that is such a good song, even though it has to deal with this boy like emotionally cheating on her and then just like dating this girl like 2 weeks after they broke up. The sense of betrayal that that song portrays, I feel really encapsulates Reckless. That is all. Okay, I haven't read too much more of Reckless. My brain is having a hard time focusing today, and so we're going on a side quest. Coffee and books go hand in hand, so let me fill you in on what's happening. I've been basically making the same coffee. I have an espresso machine, love her to death, but I've been making the same coffee for like the last, we'll just call it 2 years. I usually put a nice little chunk of brown sugar in there. I brew my double shot of espresso, and then I put my oat milk in it. I want to find a new coffee syrup because I think I'm just tired of like the brown sugar shaken oat milk espresso vibe. So I want to find a new flavored coffee, and TJ Maxx / Home Goods usually have good ones, especially if they have Monin, because that's like my favorite coffee syrup. So we're gonna go try to find a new flavor. I also want to get larger glasses because I feel like what really elevates an iced coffee experience if you will, is being able to have a bunch of ice in the glass. And I have like 12-ounce glasses. They're really little, so I want to find like 18 or 20-ounce glasses. Okay, we got bigger glasses, which is a score. I'm gonna brew it a little bit differently than I usually do, and I'm also thinking, I have a coffee frother, not a coffee frother, I have a milk frother, so I'm thinking we're gonna do a coconut iced coffee, or like iced espresso latte, whatever, with brown sugar cold foam on the top. Actually, big liar, I ended up putting non-dairy whipped cream on top, but I have since mixed it in and took my first sippy. This is delish. Truly the larger glass makes the biggest difference. We have our yummy coffee. It's time to dive back in. I've only read like maybe 2 chapters since my last check-in, and my brain could not focus for my life. So we've solved that issue.
This is what I meant earlier when I said the writing and how they like talk about each other is so good, and they're both like fighting their feelings for one another because they both betrayed each other in this one. Keeping that as general as possible. Hee hee, it's so fun. We fall silent and I watch her eyelids flutter with sleep. She's unbearable, really, but not in the way that makes it any easier to look away. No, everything about her is a bold sort of beauty, like a rose proudly displaying its thorns. She's alluring in the way that most deadly things are. It's captivating. No, it's terrifying. It's supposed to be terrifying, still thinking of her as something I'm trying to deserve, still deeming her worthy of my desire. But she's not, no matter what's already happened between us. She's my prisoner and my mission. She's nothing to me. And that's what I tell myself as I watch her fall asleep. We have finished Reckless. This was a 5-star for me. You are as shocked as I am. I was not expecting to love this as much as I did, but so many things in this story worked for me. We had multiple one-horse tropes. It's knife to the throat. It is one bed trope. It's hate to love, to hate to love. It's so good. They literally fist fight each other. They fight each other the entire story, right until the very end. And Miss Lauren Roberts gave us another massive Cliffy. And then also, I think on release day for this, she started to announce that the final book in the trilogy is called Fearless, and it will be released April of 2025. I cannot wait. Cannot wait. We got a lot more depth to Kai's character. I love Kai. I was also really stressed about what happens with Kit in this series. There's something that I want to talk about, but it's like really, really spoilery, and so I'm not going to talk about it, but let's just say like Kit, Kai, Peyton, I'm stressed for all of them, like literally all of them. Kit, none of them are okay in this book. Like literally all of them are just hanging on with an emotional thread, especially Peyton, especially Kit. Like it was insane, but we learned a lot more. Like I really enjoyed what Lauren Roberts did with Kai's character, Kai, and I guess his whole family's backstory. Thoroughly enjoyed that. Thoroughly enjoyed actually a deeper insight into Peyton's family and her backstory. I love that we just were able to build out these characters a little bit more while getting an absolutely wonderful romance story. Desert books just work for me, and we spend most of this book in the desert, and I loved every freaking second of it. I was hovering between a 4 and a 5-star for this for quite some time. I was thinking towards the end of the book, 4-star, it's probably gonna be a 4-star, which is still a really good rating, still better than the first book. The ending really cinched it for me, and my true classification of a 5-star for me is, would I reread this book and enjoy it a second time? Absolutely, I think so. This book is definitely 90% romance, 10% plot. Like the romance is truly at the forefront of the story, very similar to Powerless, but I just want to throw that out there. As a YA fantasy, it's truly like a romantic fantasy. So that is Reckless. That is book 2 down. We are nailing this challenge so far, knock on wood. And today, I think I'm gonna focus on Immortal Heights by Sherry Thomas. I mentioned this book a little bit earlier. I have already started the audiobook for this. I just want to return to it because I'm familiar with these characters. I have the audiobook for it. I'm already about 30% of the way into it. So I think it'll be easy to finish. Today is the 4th of July when I'm filming this. It's a no makeup day. We are going to the pool a little bit later. We're doing like a little barbecue today, which will be really, really fun. While I'm cooking and peeling potatoes and doing all the fun stuff, I am planning on listening to this audiobook. I think that will be just the easiest way to be able to finish a book today. So I've talked about this book and the series quite a bit throughout the months of May and June because I have read this trilogy
faster than I've read a trilogy in quite some time. This series is about elemental magic. We have a really interesting dynamic between our two main characters. They kind of go from friends to hate to friends to love. I love it because the emotional maturity of the characters fits their age so well. Like, this is a series where it truly reads like YA. The romantic relationship that we get in this is so age appropriate, if that makes sense. Like, it's not 16-year-olds that act like they're 25 and have like the emotional capacity of a 25-year-old. It's a joy to read. The elemental magic in the series is outstanding. If you liked Air Awakens, I know I've said this before, but if you liked the Air Awakens series by Elise Kova, I think you would love the magic in this. It does have spell casting. It does get political. I won't call it violent, but there's a lot of spell casting battle scenes that are fantastic to read about. They're done so well, so I'm very excited to get back into this. I'm very attached to these characters, especially our main two. So this will be the focus for today. Officially at the halfway point for the Immortal Heights, and I wanted to do a check-in. I know I had mentioned I was already about 30% of the way through, so I've only listened to 20% more, but the halfway point is a good stopping point to talk about overall thoughts, feelings, because I know I gave basically the summary of the series, but I haven't gone into actual thoughts of how I'm feeling about this last book. Ilanth is our main character. She is a lightning wielder, which has not been seen, I think, for a really long time. She's very, very rare, but she also controls a lot of the other elements. Fire, air is the most difficult for her, and earth. So she is just an all-powerful girly. Titus is the crowned prince of the society, but he is too young to take over the crown, so he has someone that's ruling in his place for now. There's prophecies that come into play in this series. So in the first book, Ilanth is trying to fix a potion. She's reading this recipe book, and the recipe book says, if your potion's going to shit, hit it with lightning. If all else fails, that will save your potion. That's what she tries to do. This immediately catches the attention of all of the magical authoritative forces. They all gather. They're trying to like capture her to see who is this person, what's going on. The magical authorities are like, how do we control this person? We have to bring her to the Bane, which is the like ultimate ruler of the like magical world, whereas Titus is the ruler, or soon to be ruler, of, I don't know, the royalty land. Anyways, so she runs away. She's like, these people, this is giving sketchy. Why would they want to capture me? She runs away. Titus, in the background, has this prophecy that his mother told him. When you see a powerful mage wield lightning, you have to go and protect that person. So immediately, Ilanth and Titus are together. They decide to escape to this, not escape, but hide at this school in the human world. So these two very important mage people go undercover. Ilanth has to disguise herself as a boy, and they fly under the radar from the magical authorities. The story just goes on from there. People continue to chase them. They gain friends along the way. In the second book in the series, you get a lot of that found family buildup with so many fun adventures while they are in hiding at this boys' boarding school. I guess what isn't working for me is that in the second book, we got to meet a lot of these side characters. Now we only have a couple characters from that second book that are maintaining their status in this one. I feel like I'm supposed to feel more connected to the side characters, and I just don't. I feel connected to Ilanth and I feel connected to Titus, but that's pretty much it. And so all of these reveals of all of these plot twists about these character relationships and whatever, I'm kind of like, okay, when are we gonna get to this big battle? Also, I will say, for a series that is revolving around one main big bad character that we're trying to take down, he's only been officially in one scene so far. He's been talked about throughout the entire series, but we only got to see him at the end of the second book. And so I'm just like waiting for him to show up. it feels a little bit weird that he's just been like talked about and we're just being told a lot of things, and I would like to be shown in person how truly big and bad he is. So that's, I think, my main complaint about the series. I'm going to keep reading. I'm about to start immersive reading so that I can just fly through this next section pretty quickly, and I will check in once I have finished her. So I have some disappointing news. You might hear fireworks going on in the background. I was listening to this audiobook while I was playing Animal Crossing because I was really struggling from like the 60% mark to the end. This was a little bit difficult. I know my last update I had shared some of the things I was struggling with. I think the other things that really hit me quite hard as we got more towards the end, this really just felt a lot like the second book. Like the second book, we are in hiding, we're running away. 75% of this book, we're in hiding, we're running away. And I'm like, okay, I wanted this to be different. I wanted more. I wanted to have this like epic battle. I wanted this epic face-off. The battle with him was very short, right at the end. And then we get a lot of the aftermath of what came from that battle. The pacing was just off. We get told so much. The one thing that I really enjoyed about the first and second books, especially the first book, the magic world in this series is quite expansive. It has a very detailed history, and so in the first book, I didn't mind being told a lot of that history either through monologues from the characters. A lot of bookception in the series. We have books within these books to explain more of that history, to explain like journal entries from important characters and their pasts and their histories and how it all ties together. In this one, I just felt like we've gotten all of that in the first two books. We've had so much told to us. We've learned the history. We've had these monologues. I wanted this to be a lot more action than what it ended up being. So that was sad. I'm kind of hovering. I ended up giving it a 3-star. I wrote my Goodreads review, added it to my Storygraph challenge. I gave it 3 stars because it's definitely a good, not great finale book. I was hovering between a 2-star and a 3-star because in terms of enjoyment level, I didn't enjoy it. I did not enjoy this reading process. The audiobook carried me through. And usually if it's a book that if I had the choice to, I would probably DNF it. The only reason I didn't want to DNF this is because it's my Friends to Lovers prompt for Romantasy-a-thon, a percentage of the way through, so I was like, we'll just include it in this vlog. And I don't want to DNF it. I do want to finish it and see it through. But was it worth it? Probably not. I do still really enjoy the first and second books, but I'm just having a bad streak with finale books recently. We finished her. That is our third book in 3 days, so we are ticking the boxes for this vlog and for this challenge. Also, in terms of Romantasy-a-thon, that was my 18th prompt out of 35. We are officially 51% of the way through the prompts for Romantasy-a-thon, so slightly more than halfway, which is super encouraging. So next up, we are going to finish this book tomorrow. It is Nectar of the Wicked by Ella Fields. So our main character in this one is a changeling. She really wants to know more about her past, and so she gets this offer from an irresistibly wicked fairy. They start to play a game of cat and mouse. I am his prey, his treasure, a perfect pet. He offers a trade. He will take me to the fairy realms to assist in my search for the truth of who I am. In return, I must agree to marry him. So it sounds intriguing. Also, this cover, this is the Fairy Loot edition. It's beautiful, and the fan art in here is beautiful, and there's like a little wolfy puppy that I'm very excited to get to know. We are due a check-in for Nectar of the Wicked. I am a little over 100 pages in. I intend to finish this tonight, so I have my work cut out for me. It is currently 9:18 p.m. Today just escaped me. I read
a couple pages of this morning. I did a stream today. We went to Costco for groceries, and then I went to the library here for the first time. I got a new library card, which is very exciting. The library here is also beautiful, like one of the nicest libraries I've been in. So I signed up for my library card. I brought this book to the library. I got like a little study room, and my intentions were to read this book and to edit my vlog that is going up on Sunday. For you all, that would have been far past. It was my reading anything but Fae romantasy vlog, and here we are reading Fae romantasy. So all that to say, the day escaped me. We are here now. It's 9 p.m. and I need to read, I think, 250 more pages about. However, this is reading so very quickly. So our main character's name is Flea. She had a guardian. I know I already gave the summary for this book, but just to provide a little bit more context, her guardian hated her because she is a changeling, and her guardian basically lost her daughter in exchange to take care of our main character. So she calls her Flea because she sees her as a pest, a nuisance. When we get introduced to our love interest, whose name is Florian, we find out some interesting things about him. Their dynamic is fun to read about because Flea is so innocent and just naive because her guardian hated her so much. She hasn't lived a lot of life. She doesn't have a lot of life experience. She spent most of her time in the apartment, like cleaning or going to the market for her guardian and just suffering inside. So she doesn't know to be like skeptical of people. She does and she doesn't. I don't think she's questioning our love interest Florian enough because he is this wickedly dark fae that we've heard about. He is immediately fascinated by her, but she's not asking herself why enough, in my opinion. I think personally that Florian sees someone who's very easy to take advantage of. She's also never had any experience in the arena of love, we will say, regardless of like a crush. She's never been kissed. She's never done anything more than kissing. So that comes into play. I think he really likes that. And he is over a century old, so he's just gonna take advantage of her. Anyways, it has kind of a corruption like trope, and I do like a corruption trope, so we'll see where it goes. It definitely is spicy very quickly. The power dynamic in their relationship I think is really fun to read about. It goes with having our super innocent female main character and our not so innocent, cunning, conniving male love interest. I'm enjoying the writing so far. I think it's paced really well. I think I was sucked in right from the first chapter, and I'm trying to find, so in this world there's the human world, there's the fairy world, and then there's this kind of middle land. That's where Flea and her guardian live. But this absolutely tickled me, and I can't, like, every time the name of this middle land was in the book, I was just giggling. The middle land is named Crustal. Speaks volumes about how undesirable it was to live in that middle land. So the naming conventions are just wonderful. I'm having a great time. I'm looking forward to reading more, and like I said, I have a lot of reading to get done. I apologize for the state that I'm in currently, and the past couple of days have just been pool days, so I apologize if this is the like no makeup vlog. It's just happening. I made it quite a bit farther into Nectar of the Wicked last night. I made it to page 269, so I have less than 100 pages left. However, technically it's taking me like a little bit over a day to finish this one, but we are going to finish her today, and then I'm planning to finish another book today so that we don't fall behind. But I wanted to give a little bit of an update on this now in the morning because we got like a resort pool pass for the day because it's hot as heck out and we're just going stir crazy, like sitting in our house in the air conditioning all day. So we're going to Phoenix. I will try to grab a couple clips from that because the pool is supposed to be super duper nice. It should be really fun. There's like a lazy river. They have like a drink service by the pool, so we might get some drinkies, and it's gonna be really cute and fun. But that being said, I don't know if I'll have time to update later today, so I just wanted to do it now. This is so easy to read. It's also very unputdownable. I didn't want to stop reading last night, but it was 1 in the morning and I knew I had to wake up early. So unfortunately I didn't finish her, but I didn't want to stop reading. That's how I felt every single time I've picked this book up. I've been getting annoyed at life because it's interfering with me finishing this book. The plot in this was a bit transparent. I had some suspicions right from the very beginning because usually when our main female character flee, when they can't remember anything, it usually has maybe one of 2 ways it can go. So I saw through that a little bit. We get some of the main plot twists right in the middle of the book. Loved it. So even though I could predict what was going to happen, it has not impacted my enjoyment level at all because of the way that it's playing out, because of the character dynamic, because of the power dynamic. It stays the same so far throughout their relationship, and they just like play with each other. Like it's all just this big game and it's so fun. But now like feelings may or may not be getting involved in this power game, in this power struggle, in this game. This is absolutely 5 spicy peppers. I was not expecting it to be as spicy as it is, but it is like full on extremely spicy. You won't hear a complaint from me. I'm having the best time. I think the spice is written so well. This is a duology too, so the second book, both of these are on Kindle Unlimited. I'm just reading the physical copy because I got it through my Fairy Loot box. I very well might be picking up the second book in this duology later in this vlog because I can't help myself. Like I just really want to know what happens next. I'm super excited to see where this book leaves off because I think it's going to leave off on a pretty big cliffhanger.
We have a lot to catch up on and we have a very busy day ahead of us. So let me give reading updates. I will be so honest with y'all. Did not finish a book yesterday. Well, I technically did finish Nectar of the Wicked, but it took me 2 days to finish it. I had 100 pages yesterday. Also, I meant to get some clips of us at that like resort that we got the pool pass for, but it was crazy busy. Like there were people and children everywhere because there was a lazy river, there's a water slide, there's multiple pools. It was so much fun, but also I was like, I don't know how to capture this and not get like literally anybody else in there because there probably was like 200 people. So we went, we had a great time. Your girl was very sleepy. I read this and finished this when we were at the pool. I ended up giving it 4 stars. If you want a book where the love interest is an absolute villain through and through, like there are moments where you like him really only because he is trying to get in our female main character Flea's pants. Like he's definitely hot, but at the same time you're like, he is so toxic. Like, am I okay for liking this male? And I'll just tell you right now, you're not okay, but I also get it because I thought he was so hot. But when you get to the end of this book, you're like, our poor girly pop, like our poor girly pop. I do want to read the second book in the series. Like I said, it's on Kindle Unlimited, so we might get to that. We just have to see where we land after I go through the other updates. So we finished her, 4 stars, absolutely enjoyed this. I love Ella Field's writing. I think she's very interesting. I love that she writes not even just morally gray, like she literally writes dark ass characters with dark ass romances. So I used this for my pretty cover prompt for Romantasy-thon because let's be real, the cover's gorgeous. Did not end up getting to Furyborn yesterday because after I physically read the remaining 100 pages of Nectar of the Wicked, my brain said, we can't do this anymore. So I didn't end up picking up Furyborn. I needed something, so I was like, I'm going to start another book today. I'm not gonna finish it. So I ended up starting Throne of Serpents by Frost K. This is the 3rd book in the Dragon Isle Wars trilogy. I have read the other 2 books in this trilogy fairly recently, so I will leave the links for the vlogs below, but I read the other 2 books if you're interested in watching those. This is a series where we also have, I guess we'll call them morally gray because these characters are a little bit more moral than Nectar of the Wicked. They're all very morally gray. The love interest is also just like an absolute villain, but we do like him. I would say just take what I'm saying and make it a little bit less than Nectar of the Wicked because that was crazy. But it's been a really fun series. I did not think I was going to marathon the Dragon Isle Wars series. I think the first book I read was in May, read one in June, now we're in July, and here we are finishing the trilogy. We have dragons. We have a super stabby female main character. She's extremely competent as well, which I absolutely love. There's a lot of violence and like absolute devastation. It's very political. If you liked Bridge Kingdom, I think you would really, really like the Dragon Isle Wars series, especially like the two main characters and how they have feelings for each other, but their relationship is just so messy and complicated because of all of these politics that are happening in the background. It's kind of stunning. So this audiobook was only 8 hours, but I listened to it on 2x speed, so it's 4 hours. Last night I was like, we have laundry to do, we have dishes to do, let me just listen to this while I lay in bed and nap, and then also like do some chores. So I am 49% of the way through Throne of Serpents. We're gonna finish it today. However, that means that I'm still 1 book behind. So I'm trying to finish 2 books today. I am so determined to complete this challenge. Like, we are reading 7 books in 7 days. That is it, there's no compromises. I'm not gonna be picking Furyborn up today because I don't think I would be able to finish this today. I do, however, think I would be able to finish a spicy novella on Kindle Unlimited. So we are going to be reading That Time I Got Drunk and Yeeted a Love Potion at a Werewolf by Kimberly Lemming. I read the first book in this series, That Time I Got Drunk and Did Something with a Demon. Loved it. I gave it 5 stars. I literally loved it so much. It's such a silly, goofy, fun time. The spice is incredible. It was just, I had the best time reading it. And so I was like, perfect. It's about 200 pages. We can definitely get through it and then we will be back on track. So the name of the game today is catching up on slacking from yesterday. I am also about to update my July TBR by week spread, so we can fill this out together. Our first book of the day. So I just finished Throne of Serpents by Frost K. Let me just forgetting the author. Yes, that is correct. 4 stars. Really enjoyed that ending. I think that series, first of all, I'm surprised that more people don't talk about it because it's really easy to listen to. It's also on Kindle Unlimited and it's on Everend, the audiobooks, which is how I found it. I loved that conclusion. I do think towards the second half of the book, it felt like we didn't really know how to end it because all of a sudden the 3 books take place over about a year, but then at the end you're getting like each chapter will be like 3 months later, 3 months later, a year later. Like the last chapter I think was a year later, and it just felt like, okay, we needed more time. The characters needed more time to do stuff in order to like reach where they needed to conclude. But what I loved about this series, no spoilers, is the enemies to lovers all the way through. I think I mentioned, like, if you loved Bridge Kingdom, I think you would like this. If you liked the Legends of Thesmar series, not so much the characters, but if you liked how almost all of the books start with them back to being enemies to lovers, I think you will really like this series, because even halfway through that 3rd book, that finale book, I was questioning, are they even gonna have a happy ending? They're both such cunning and capable main characters. You do see vulnerability from her, but only because you get her internalized monologue. She never becomes or has moments where the reader is supposed to like pity her. She just stays a constant badass all the way through, and it's so much fun. They're constantly trying to get the upper hand on each other because they're from warring kingdoms.
At no point in this series do they both just fully succumb to their feelings and they're like, okay, we're just together now and we're gonna figure out how to make this work. They do like each other and they do kiss, and there's a lot of like tension. It's a YA series, so you do get a like fade to black moment, but it takes a long time. I think that the series would count for slow burn, absolutely knife to throat, like 100%. Hate to love, enemies to lovers. There are not training scenes, but like they actually like battle each other, like fist fight each other. There is within the series as a whole like a captor-captive type moment. Actually, like the first 2 books, captor-captive. There's like a forced marriage. I guess you could say forced proximity as well. It hits a lot of different tropes for like all 3 of these books. I loved that the last book, what I'll say is you don't get like a true, it is a happy ending for them, but you don't get like a true happily ever after in the very like cliche way that we usually see. I just thought the relationship was so interesting. Frost K really kept it quite unique. The only critique I have of this series is I wish that the dragons were more active within the storyline. I find sometimes with dragon books, they're used as methods of transportation. They're not, in this one, they're not true characters like a Fourth Wing, where the dragons are definitely present and they have their own characterizations. You don't get that in this. They're treated a little bit more like animal companions. Very positive. Now we get to start on my Kindle That Time I Got Drunk and Yeeted a Love Potion at a Werewolf. It's like the longest title ever. This butter pecan, feeding my reading brain. Happy to report that yesterday we finished That Time I Got Drunk and Yeeted a Love Potion at a Werewolf by Kimberly Lemming. I gave it 3 stars. I realized halfway through that book that I do need to start being a little bit more intentional with the books that I'm picking up because I only have so many prompts left for Romantasy-a-thon, which is so amazing. This challenge really just helped me feel a bit more ahead of where we needed to be, which is fantastic. I'm using this book as my forced proximity trope. I think it counts because they wouldn't have been like together this whole time if Felix didn't have a love potion yeeted at him, and so that kind of forced their proximity, if you will. I want to give a little bit more of a summary for this book, and then I'll also give some thoughts because I really just checked in I think right at the very beginning, and I haven't given an update since, so let's talk about it. In this book, we follow the love story of Bree and Felix. Bree is a human. She lives on a farm by herself. She's best friends with Cinnamon, who is our first main character in the first book, like absolute besties for the resties. She's at a bar with Cinnamon one night. This guy is being super creepy and annoying to her. He tries to like force her to drink this drink. He's like, I've got you this drink, you have to drink it. And she's like, I don't want your stupid drink, can you just leave me alone, please? She takes the drink, whips it across the bar, and it hits someone in the head. He turns around, this is Felix, our male love interest. He turns around, sees Bree as the first thing, and immediately falls in love with her. Come to find out, that creepy guy at the bar was trying to curse her, poison her with this love potion. So thankfully she didn't drink that drink, but the love potion takes 2 weeks to dissipate. And so Felix is in love with her immediately. And he is also a werewolf shifter. So he looks at her, immediately says, oh my gosh, you're my fated mate. And she's like, it is the love potion talking. And he's like, it's not the love potion talking. You're my fated mate. Literally won't leave her alone. She wakes up, he's like in her house, he's like, I have to protect you, I have to be here all the time, whatever. The plot of the story starts to come in when we find out in this human town that they're in, unmarried women start to disappear. And so that's like the mystery that we're following throughout the story. Kimberly Lemming is just such a joy to read from. I mean, she just writes the most lighthearted, cozy, very, very spicy, like 5 spicy peppers
fantasy romances. There's nodding, if you know what that is. If you don't, I'm literally not explaining it. So there is that. If you liked tentacles and teeth, you would really enjoy this book, because there are like random shadow tentacles that show up at one point in the story. Not to spoil anything, but I read this and I was like, oh my gosh, tentacles and teeth take two. I enjoyed it, but I don't think the romance hit me as well as Cinnamon and whatever her love interest's name was. I can't remember, even though he was in the story as well. Fallon? Question mark? I just didn't feel as connected with Bree and Felix, but I did think they were very cute. I'm just not usually for a blonde love interest. I have one exception to that rule, and that is Jax from the Once Upon a Broken Heart series, but he's like a blonde werewolf, and so it talks about when he shifts, he's like a very light colored blonde werewolf, and I was like, I don't know how I feel about that. However, today's gonna be another doozy day, if I'm honest. I haven't started reading our book for today. It is 8 minutes to 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and so I'm going to go with Jade Fire Gold by June C.L. Tan. This is going to be for my standalone romantasy prompt. This is a YA. I have the audiobook for it. The audiobook is 12 hours. I'm planning on immersive reading at least 2 times speed, so I'm hoping I can cut it down to at least 6 hours. The difficult part of this is I have a lot of calls for work today. I'm going to start this right now. I'm gonna start listening to the audiobook. During this challenge, my sleeping schedule has really taken one for the team. So we'll see how late I stay up tonight to finish this. If I have to finish it tomorrow morning, that's okay with me. And then tomorrow, I don't know yet what we're going to pick up, because I think tomorrow I do want a book that has an audio as well, and that way we can finish this challenge strong. I don't know much about the story besides it has really, really high ratings. It's a book I've been meaning to read for a very long time. It's been on my want to read for an embarrassing amount of time. The back says, in an empire on the brink of war, An is no one with no past and no family. Alton is a lost heir, his future stolen away as a child. When they meet, Alton sees in An a path to reclaiming the throne. An sees a way to finally unlock her past and understand her lethal magical abilities. But a brewing war threatens both their plans, and they may have to pay a far deadlier price than either could have imagined. I know that there's queer representation in here, and that's pretty much all I know. So we're going into this a little bit blind, because I feel like the back of that book doesn't really explain literally anything at all. So I will give an update once I'm maybe 20% of the way through, just to give a more full, fleshed out summary for y'all. Super quickly, I wanted to give some first impressions, because I'm 40 pages in, and my next update I'm going to be much, much farther. Very, very strong start so far, I will say. I love Asian inspired stories, and it's been a while since I've read one. I'm trying to think of what my last one was. I don't know what it is. I love them. This is giving Avatar Last Airbender vibes. So we have one of our main characters, Alton, who is an exiled prince. He apparently has some type of scar on his face. I'm just going to, in my brain, assume that it's a burn, because he also wears an eye patch over his eye. It's giving Zuko. It's giving Prince Zuko. Apparently his father used to rule the land. There's a lot of politics going on, but basically the true story of it all is Alton's uncle killed his father. A different story was spun for the people of the land, but his uncle took over. And we'll just say he was not as benevolent as a leader. Also, magic is persecuted in this world, and we have 2 main characters who wield magic, and they have to do so very stealthily, otherwise they will be prosecuted by these priests that are called the Dia. It seems like it's elemental magic too, because Alton has fire magic. It talks about how he was standing by a window, his best friend comes into the room, and he lights a candle by going boop, and like a flame pops out of his finger.
I'm having such a good time. So that gives us a little bit more information. An also like never knew her parents. She's living with her ama right now, which is her grandma. Her grandma is in very poor health and they are truly struggling to survive. An can't keep a job. They don't have any money to their name. They're running out of options at this point. And An was basically adopted, didn't know her parents. Ama rescued her when she was just a little girl on the street, took her and raised her as her own granddaughter. I love a setup like that, but I'm emotionally preparing myself for something to happen to Ama. It always happens and it always gets me and I'm always sad about it. So I'm mentally preparing myself for that. That is my 40-page update. We are halfway. I wanted to do a little bit of a check-in just because I'm so blown away by this book. It's actually incredible. So for a standalone book, we have so much world building. It feels like the culture is extremely well established. I love how much exposure we get to foods, to language, to the mannerisms and like manners of different people. The one thing that was a little bit confusing to wrap my head around was only the geography, because we don't get a map and we do a little bit of traveling. So that was a little difficult. I'm definitely a reader who loves a map. Everything feels so well established and we're only 206 pages in, but I'm just so surprised at everything June C.L. Tan was able to create in 200 pages and still have it feel easy to read. Like the world building was easily absorbed and also these characters feel so real. The politics are really fun. There is emperor slash like court drama. I don't know if you call it a court, if it's like an emperor slash empress that's ruling. It's very juicy. I'm curious to learn more about the magic. We've gotten little bits and pieces of magic so far. I think that as we get closer to the end of the book, there's going to be a conflict and our two main characters, like I mentioned, both have magic and they're both different kinds of magic. One kind is extremely rare. So I don't want to go too into the details because I don't want to spoil anything about this. It's been really fun to go into this book not fully blind, but having a vague picture of what's happening and then learning as we go. But I will say her destiny, his revenge is a very important catchphrase, like catchline to understanding the story. I love the setup for like what her destiny is supposed to be. Her life has been turned absolutely upside down when she realizes like who she is, who her family is, the magical abilities that she has. She's learned about her past, which was devastating, and now she's like kind of in this big mess. I continue to stick by that Altan is Zuko coded 100%, but where Altan is Zuko, An is like Aang. I am going to keep reading, but I just wanted to do that brief check-in before I finish her. And I think yesterday I had said we'll see like what book we pick up next after this one. Today is the last day of the reading challenge. I started this challenge July 2nd. It is now July 9th, so it has been 7 days. And this is our 7th book, which is so wild. The fact that I was just like, yeah, so we'll see what we pick up next. Like, I'm just treating it like this challenge is gonna go on forever and ever, amen. It's not. We are here. This is the final day. Besties, we have finished our 7th and final book of this vlog, so I wanted to give final thoughts, final rating, and then we'll do a little final wrap up. But this was a hefty challenge. My sleep schedule is in fact still mad at me. However, I felt so beyond stressed by my TBR. Honestly, when I was filming my July TBR, I was like, how the heck and bob am I gonna read 18 books in a month? The fact that I just proved to myself I can read 7 books in 7 days, it's like, we're almost halfway there. We're almost halfway to 18. Like, this is crazy. So anyways, let's talk about the final conclusion of Jade, Fire, and Gold. I gave this book 4 stars. I think it's incredible. If you like Avatar: The Last Airbender, that's what I'm saying. My camera almost just fell and hit me in the face, so I've adjusted you just slightly if you notice it. Zuko coded love interest, but make it as if the avatar is a girly pop and their destinies are intertwined. Like, not saying this is a complete ripoff of Avatar: The Last Airbender. It's absolutely not. I loved its uniqueness, but my brain, because I love Avatar so much, it kept like pulling inspiration from Avatar. The pacing of this book, I think, is what really did it for me, because I do love a political fantasy that has magic involved in it. Our main characters are the main players in their destinies that are dealing with these empires that need help. We'll just say old men have messed up this whole empire, and our two main characters are fulfilling their destiny to right the ship, if you will. Things start happening from the very beginning, and they do not stop happening all the way through. As much as I love political fantasies, sometimes you get into these lulls in the story and it really, really loses me. Not with this. So action-packed, super duper fast-paced, loved the characters. The only, and it's not even a critique, but the only note that I will say is the magic system isn't super fleshed out in this. However, it didn't bother me in the slightest. I loved the magic. I loved where it showed up. I loved that we just learned a little bit more and a little bit more as we went, because one of our main characters, On, is like discovering her magic, and so we're learning along with her. It's much more politics focused. The only other note that I will say is I've seen this book specifically advertised as an LGBTQ fantasy with some romance in it. Romance is also back left stage. Like, the plot, the war, the destinies are in the forefront. But there are characters present in this book who have that queer representation, but it's not the main romance. So I felt a little bit bamboozled, because in my mind, whenever I saw Jade Fire Gold, the title, I was like, oh, I know that that's advertised as a queer YA fantasy slash with some romance. Yes, it's present, but it's not the focal point. So there is that, but thoroughly enjoyed reading this. What a fantastic final book for this vlog. Like, truly, I loved every second of this. This week we read, I have it on my calculator over there, 2,681 pages, just because this is so satisfying to do. These are all the books that we finished this week, including 2 ebooks that we read. I had so much freaking fun with this. I hope that you enjoyed watching, friends. If you did, please be sure to give this video a big thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, leave a stack of books in the comments down below if you would just like to let me know that you were here. I will catch you in the comments, and I will see you in my next one. Toodles!